If you noticed, I removed the brake calipers, and there's a reason for that. And I want to know if anybody noticed in the last video. So we're starting this video off is that I am right pissed because some white trash pile of crap decided to come to my yard, steal all my bottles. What really concerns me is that I was home at the time when this happened. And he obviously knew where the bottles were. So I don't know how the heck he knew. I even looked back on the camera footage for like the past week and some. So unless he looked through the cracks of the fence, I'm not exactly sure. But this guy is pretty darn brazen. It's going to be my mission to track this guy down. I don't know if it's coincidence or not, but I just had this security camera sent to me with solar panel that I'm going to install on the garage facing into the alley. This shit's getting out of hand now. So going back to this, it's a good thing that I hoard parts because I don't have the caliper screws. So luckily I kept the old ones so I get the bolt out, but that's not the reason why. The reason why I took them off is I have the brake pads on wrong. The clips, the notch like this, is supposed to go at the top. I had the brake calipers in right because your bleeder screws is always at the top, but those tabs, where I had them, was on the bottom, and they got to be on top. There you have it. Just got them switched around. Bleeder screw to the top, notches to the top. If you're ever curious on why the bleeder screws are on top, it is so that you can bleed them. Question is, how well are those bolts going to come out? Gonna rely on Big Bertha to get the job done. Good old 14 mil. Oh yeah, coming out pretty easy. Now the brake line part's going to be fun. Remember when you're putting it in with your banjo bolt that you need a copper washer on this side, through here, and on the opposite side. So there's a copper washer on both sides of there. So I'm going to get ready, mount this camera up. That's going to be the first priority. Did need a memory card, so I got a memory card in there. That's where the USB will go. Little tiny solar panel. Figure if I put the camera up right there, I'll have view to shoot down, good access. Put the solar panel on the roof. Need to make sure the Wi-Fi is going to work back here before I do anything. Power it on. Perfect, and it looks like from the back of my garage I got Wi-Fi 85%, so that's going to work for me. Alright, the Wi-Fi signal is good. Over here. Now I'll touch the solar panel onto the brand new roof. Solar panel up. Got it temporarily set up for right now. Test it out, see how it works. Winter's coming, see if it survives the winter. Well, it's a good thing I decided to check on this before I decide to want to tack weld it up. That's why it's always very important, if you guys haven't been noticing, that to test fit everything first before you put it together, and this is why. So I've been struggling on how to do the placement for the rubber brake line, and that's all fine and dandy. It's pretty short, but I realize now I can't have it coming out the back, because when I go to 35s, they're going to be 2 inches longer, and that brake line is going to get too close to the rubber for my comfort. So I got to grind down the stop on the caliper so I can move that around. And then I also got to mount that brake line coming off the frame to the top over there. So coming down to the caliper, you can see that stop right there. I just put the plug back in. I need to grind that down, and that way it'll give me more movement flexibility for the brake line to kind of keep it from doing a loop, but perhaps kind of come out and swish around. So with that little notch ground down, I can run along there, attach my line right there. I also got that rubber hose to wrap this to prevent it from rubbing. First one is in and mounted. Got it away from the shock boot. It's wrapped in rubber so it doesn't chafe through there. And I also removed the bolt for the caliper and was able to remove the caliper from the brake drum. So everything is looking good there. Now to figure out how the other side's gonna go. So with the first night having the camera set up, I caught this. A bunch of idiots with a trailer load full of crap gonna be dumping it in the field behind me. And luckily, with the camera that from inside the house, I can control it. And it appears that very well could possibly be somebody that lives very close to me. It's that time of year you're gonna start using the furnace. Now, I'm gonna have to weld a notch onto the axle. So I need to cut out a little piece, drill a hole, weld it on. This is pretty thin, but I also need to weld like a 1/4 inch nut on the back. So that's gonna be pretty interesting. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can tack weld that nut on the back without distorting it. Got that little tab tack welded. Making sure battery's disconnected. Got that brake line ran, tack welded it together. Now I just gotta find a spot for that top one. I think I'm gonna go right about, like right around here will be perfect. So that brake line is attached. Got it up by a couple spacers for washers. That's why this brake line has to come down through here and out through there. Because of the track bar here, I can't come up. Otherwise the track bar might get in the way, unfortunately. Now comes the fun stuff to build the brake lines. I got my galvanized tube right here. Various kinds of flaring tools. I bought that one there. It's never even been cracked open, but I got the rigid right here. And I got the die that came out of this case here. I got some bending tools. But I'm positive I purchased another bending tool. It's like a pair of pliers. That looks like stripping pliers. But it is what it is. I have to work with these ones here. So there's a couple ways that you could do this. If you're confident, you can just grab the tube, start bending. Or you can use some mechanics wire. I'm going to use some mechanics wire. Just to kind of feed it through, kind of get the bends. I know some people like the B-roll, but this is definitely kind of crude. But you kind of get the idea. I've never actually used this tool before. Just try to feed that in my hand. Let's try this one again.
There is an arrest warrant already issued under your name. To talk to an officer from Canada Border Services Agency, please press 1 and hold the line.
Law Enforcement Department of Canada Border Services Agency, how can I help you?
How can you help me is the question. Well, I was kind of hoping I could have some fun with those scammers, but unfortunately, maybe they knew that I was catching on to them. So, I'm going to have a look at my brake lines, and I'm going to warn you right now, this did not turn out as glamorous as I would have hoped. I don't know what it was with this part of the project, but I really struggled and overthought when it came to doing the brake lines. I don't know what it was, but I think I spent way too much time trying to think of everything that could possibly go wrong with the way that I'm doing it instead of just doing it. Sometimes that happens, but let's have a look. So I got my light. As you can see, I got the main brake line rubbered underneath because the back of the perch is cut off there. As you can see on the Dana 35, it's a full circle. So if it had a full circle, it wouldn't be a problem, but I have to keep it underneath this lip. And that's where I struggle. That's why on this side, that piece had to come down so the brake line's below, because this bottom coil is definitely going to bottom out. And now, as you can see, I ran my line to my T, then down. But now that after I ran it, I realized that I should have came down more through the truss and then down that way instead of doing it that angle like that. But it works for now. When you look at it from this side, it's not horrible. I got it clamped down. Now this one here, as you can see, it gets a little bit more uglier. This one is more interesting because I had to weld a tab on to run the brake line down lower, and because of the track bar, I don't want it coming down and hitting that line, so that's why I came through and then through the hole. And you can see from this side, I came down part of the truss through the hole. I may put, I should put another clamp up top there for the brake line. I'll have to build a spacer. I'll add that on my list of things to do. There's definitely lots of deciding factors, because if I would have had this looped like the way it would have interfered with the tire, especially if I had chains. Now, my personal advice, if I was to do this over again, knowing what I know now, I would definitely install the brake lines and everything before the axle was put in. Knowing what I know now, just because trying to drill everything underneath, it's so tight with everything in there that it's a real pain in the butt. And as much as I love my Milwaukee angle drill, it works good, I feel it really lacks the RPM for high speed for like really small drill bits like 1/8. I find it really struggles, but I got it done except for that one. I think I am going to put another one in there. And I still have some brake line left because I need to repair a brake line in the front that got damaged well over a year ago, but you know what time it is. Need to crack open the old Frigorama here. What do I want? Oh, let's grab this oddball one right down here. This is Granville Island Brewing Sip Easy. This is only 4.3%. This is like a girl's beer. All right, it's motherfucking beer time. Not sure where I got this beer from. It's from Vancouver, BC, 4.3%. It's really light beer. Let's have a sip of this one. Yeah, it definitely lives up to its name, Sip Easy Lager. I think this is the type of beer that you could drink around a fire and you don't have to worry about getting hammered, and you can still have a pretty good time. Because you know, once you start cracking into those beers that are 7%, 6.5, it only takes a few of those and things start going south. But anyways, this part of the project's done. I'm ending this video here because I dragged this out far too long. I should have been actually done this project by now, but I'm not sure what the heck's going on. I just feel like I've hit a brick wall and the motivation has just like fallen off the cliff. But I need to break that, get cracking, because I need to fill the differential. I need to put the weight underneath the axle, tighten up the control arms, track bar, get the parking brake in, install the larger master cylinder, decide afterwards if I'm gonna have to change out the proportional valve, which in that case I would get an adjustable one. Anyways, I'm gonna have another sip of this beer because it's pretty good. I want to thank everybody for watching. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.